It's 6:05 on Tuesday, October 5th, 2021, and I hereby call this regular scheduled meeting of the City Council to order. Could you please bow your heads for the invocation?
Almighty God, we ask you to watch over us, to help guide this council to make decisions that are right for the protection and safety of its citizens, to help use the funds we get wisely, to help make Diamondhead a better place for all. And we ask you, Lord, to protect all those in most need of prayer. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City
Mayor
Clerk, Ms.
DePrio.
Jeannie Klein,
Mayor DePrio.
here.
Councilmember Finley.
Here.
Councilmember Moran is absent. Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Here.
Council, Mr. Derek Cusick, we're doing roll call on all motions.
I recommend it, yes, just to
Thank
make sure that we're clear and everybody can hear.
Thank you. I move to adjust the agenda to move item on consent agenda, item number 3, 2021-313, to the action agenda 1. Can I get a motion to move as amended?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor? Aye. I'm going to move the presentation agenda up a little bit. Oh, sorry, we didn't do roll call.
Oh.
City Clerk, Ms. Jeannie Klein. And y'all going to have to be patient with us. Being we have one on phone, via phone, and one out, we have to do roll call.
Finley.
Yes.
Shepherd.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Marr.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Presentation agenda, I'm going to move up to A. We have our legal consultant here, our legislative consultant, that's going to give us an update on the legislature, what's coming ahead, what happened, and what's going on in Jackson. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Trey Bobbinger to please come up and give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor. All the council members, hello. Council Member Shepherd, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thanks. Glad to have you joining by phone. Just wanted to give a brief update. First, I want to say it's good to be in Diamondhead and see all of you. And as the old folks used to say, if the Lord's willing, I'll be back tomorrow for the parade for the car show, I hope. So my dad has a very nice 57 Chevy that I'm looking forward to riding in. Convertible, I might add. But I wanted to give you a brief update while I was in town to let you know some things going on. We've all heard, people in the audience here, this issue about medical marijuana. It's been going on. You remember last November there was an election, a city sued, it was taken to the Supreme Court, it was overturned, and so we ended up, it's back in the lap of the legislature. But to have a special session, meaning outside of January through March, the governor is the only one vested with that authority to call a special session. And he told the lieutenant governor and the speaker, get your folks together and bring me something you can agree upon that I'm good with, and I'll call the special session. Seems reasonable, a reasonable approach to me. Well, I think we're about there. I was at a lunch with Lieutenant Governor Hoseman on Monday, had a good visit with Mr. Hoseman, and he says they're very, very close. Texted with the speaker last night, Gunn, Speaker of the House. So I think we're close to the governor calling a special session on marijuana, medical marijuana. The way it will impact our concerns for municipalities really generate or revolve around two things. One is revenue. Chuck, I know that big grocery store out there generates a lot of sales, and this city gets 18.5% of that 7% sales tax. That's important to the budget of the city. So we want to make sure that whatever happens, that when they put that 7% sales tax, and the draft does have it in there, we want to make sure that Diamondhead and other municipalities receive their diversion. And I think that's going to happen. I feel good about that. They're also going to put a 5% excise tax on there that will be done by the weight, and I think the quality of the product. That will go to the state, but we certainly want to get our part of it. You also need to know that in the proposal, nothing's final until the legislature passes it and the governor puts his signature on it. But there's some other things in there. One is opt-out. There's going to be an opt-out provision where municipalities and or counties would have a 90-day period from the enactment of the bill. They would have 90 days to call a special election, and if their citizens voted, we don't want it sold in this municipality or this county, then it would be prohibited. I don't know that you will see a lot of that around the state, but I think there could be some. If there's a vote and it fails, the voters would still have a right in 2 years to come back and try it again. But if it was defeated. But I don't think you'll see a lot of that, but I want you to be aware that cities will have that opportunity for an opt-out. The other issue, like I said, is zoning. That's something that's very important. Diamondhead, I know, particularly works hard for the aesthetic value of this community, the quality of life. When you drive in and the fountains and the lake and all that stuff adds to this neighborhood and this community. We were concerned about zoning. We didn't want local governments completely preempted from regulating zoning. So I think there's going to be language in the bill. For instance, it can't be like within 1,000 feet of a church or a school. And I think there's going to be something, last figure I saw was like 1,500 feet, where if you had what they call dispensaries, you don't want them, like in a strip mall, to have one on one end and one on the other. So I think there's going to be a minimum 1,500 feet. So I think there's some language there that will help protect our cities. And we're very sensitive, and I know this community is. We want Diamondhead to look and feel like what the residents want in their community. And so I think we're going to have some more zoning input and restrictions in this. Initiative 65 that was initially passed, there was no tax to the locals or the state for that matter. And actually cities were preempted, they were prohibited from doing anything, and there were no restrictions. So we're going to get a better product, I think, as far as the final bill, the final law. Real quick, I wanted to mention a big issue coming up that also could potentially affect the budget of our city is the elimination of the state income tax. Speaker Gunn makes a very passionate, strong argument to eliminate over a period of time the state income tax, which with the whole point of attracting more people into Mississippi, growing economically, growing our business, our jobs. We're all for that. I mean, we all want that. I think, and one thing that we were sensitive to, again, is this will help folks, but we also have got to protect the services that are provided by local governments, is cutting the grocery sales tax from 7 to 3.5%. But they have a formula, and the speaker's assured us, if his plan goes through, that we would be made whole, that municipalities would be made whole. We wouldn't just have to absorb that cut. So that's something that's very important. That's going to be a big, big issue this session, and you're going to hear a lot about elimination of state income tax. You're going to have your redistricting up for your legislative districts. Every 10 years after the census, they redraw those, your congressional district. You'll hear some talk about that. Now to the part our council member at large was already talking to me about earlier was the money. And certainly we will work hard. I want to thank, talking about all this, Senator Philip Moran, as well as Representative Jay McKnight. I can look here and look you in the eye and tell you those folks work for us. I have a very good relationship with both those gentlemen, and they were up there working for us, and we did very, very well, as you guys know, on getting BP monies allocated to the city of Diamondhead, some Go Mesa funding, as well as $400,000 in our tidelands. I know, Mayor, we got to still work on a little more grant money for our dog park. And I know that's something a lot of residents here in Diamondhead are interested in. That's something we're going to continue to pursue, and hopefully that will come together for us. But we're going to continue pushing, not to take funds for the sake of having them, but to fund specific projects that benefit, whether it's economically. I've heard this council talk and the mayor talk about the town center, and certainly our city managers, I know, put a lot of effort into that. We want, I think that is such a good thing for the city in the future, to build more of have more commercial development for the benefit of the residents. And also, I think it adds options, just like the Gulfport Memorial, I think clinic is coming,
Right.
which I think was a huge deal for the city of Diamondhead. So we're going to keep working on funding for those type issues, and there'll be other things to come up. I know you've got several other presenters, but while I was on the coast, I wanted to make a trip over and just say hello and give you a brief update on some things. Any questions? If not, thank y'all very much.
I just
Appreciate
want to
it.
say
stopping
thank
in for
you. The
sure.
last session, you really came through. You helped us tremendously. We
And-
received millions for our business district, our waterfront development, which we're excited, and the DMR acceptance is on here tonight for the 400,000
Wow, that's
to add to the 400 that we have. So Go Mesa funding, first time we got it. So we thank you very
I was
much for
going to
your
say,
efforts.
I think that was the first time.
It was the first time.
that we
We're
had
using it
received
for-
the Go Mesa. So,
for the ponds.
So we're tracking in the right direction. We want to keep on that path. One last thing, and thank you for that, Mayor, is I think it's important to pick a strategic time, and I can help with that, for the council and the mayor and the city manager to come up. Sometimes they'll have a cooking. Last year, the mayor and some of the members came up, and Mr. Riso was there, and I thought it was very beneficial to actually have the people living in the community. I mean, I can deliver the message and the information, but I love having some of you guys there that you can sit down, look these legislators eye to eye and talk to them and express, why do you want this project funded? Why is it important for the city of Diamondhead? It matters. It makes a difference. And I think, Mike, you would agree that was very helpful last year. Mayor, you were there. And
Oh,
I would
I
just
agree
recommend
totally.
as we move forward, the session starts first week of January, that we've got time, but we coordinate. I'll get back with the council and the city manager on a date maybe for you guys to come up. And I hope that y'all can join us for the midwinter conference of the Mississippi Municipal League as well. That's a good networking, and usually have legislators come through there as well.
We're
So thank
already
you very much.
excited about that event. Thank you, Mr. Bobinger. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held on October 19th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Council Chamber, City Hall, located at 5000 Diamondhead Circle, Diamondhead. The 9th annual Blessing of the Classics will be tomorrow. This is tomorrow, Wednesday, October 6, 2021, with a cruise party at City Hall from 3 to 6. So we know that the cruises start on the south side. They come across I-10. They come around the community center. They make the complete circle around Diamondhead. Then they come back. You see the band out there, the bandstand. We'll have a band there from 3 to 6 and a cruise-in party here at City Hall. It's a great event. If you hadn't been, come out. If you have, then you know how much fun it is, and you're probably ready for tomorrow. The annual Hancock County Hazardous Waste Collection event will be held on Saturday, October 30th, 2021, from 8 to 1 at the Hancock County Arena located at 4184 Kildalil Road. The Diamondhead Festival and Barbecue Competition will be held Saturday, November 13th, 2021, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Harbor Circle on the south side. Diamondhead Police Department National Night Out will be held October 14th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And with this, I'm going to ask Captain A.J. Gambino if he'd come up and explain what we're doing this year for our National Night Out.
Good evening, sir. Doing well.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you.
Do you see it, Ricky? Ricky, you still on?
Sorry, I can't see it.
Live streaming, I'll hold it up for you.
All right. This year, due to COVID, during our planning stage of National Night Out, there was a lot of spikes everywhere around here. It was spreading like chicken pox, and we just felt that as of last year, we canceled it. We figured the threat was just as bad, if not worse. So we didn't go forward with planning it, and then we were hit with a hurricane. So we're way behind on this. It's something that we thought we could do last minute, and somewhat of a traditional sense of National Night Out, where National Night Out was originally formed for block parties where residents threw these block parties and police would come out and visit with the residents. It's something that we thought about doing, but with all the festivals and other things going on in the city, it would be hard to find a weekend to do this in October, because we would like to do the traditional sense. However, we thought the more parties they had on a weekday night, the more the residents will want to get involved in this, throw block parties, and it would give us limited time to visit these block parties during the week. So we came up with an idea to get with the POA, because they have an asset in each ward or close to it, in your sense, Chuck. So what we're doing is we're working with the residents POA in the city to have a block party at the East Rec, the North Rec, the Holiday Village Recreational Center, and also the Community Center. The city is going to use funds to buy hot dogs and other things for this block party. POA is also contributing, and I'm going to get with Mr. Riso on e-blasting this flyer, where if residents want to get involved and contribute in any way, they can contact Miss Donna with the POA or the city and coordinate that. And from that night, we haven't set up a time each location yet, but we know we have 30 minutes or so at each location. And keeping it small like this on a weekday night, we thought would be best. That way we're not spending 5-10 minutes at a block party and rushing off. And we're going to have McGruff there to visit the kids at each block party, and it gives the residents and children an opportunity to get out and meet the police that are policing the area. Usually we would get multiple agencies involved in this. The way we usually do it, it's big, elaborate, and it seems like since it's gotten so big and elaborate, other agencies in the local area have tried to outdo us. So we want to do a little bit something different. It's last minute, but we think we can pull it off pretty easily. And I think it'll be good for the kids and the community as well to do something like this. So that's really all I have. It's really all about just getting out and getting with the people, letting them meet the police in the area. And I spoke with some of you on the phone. I had limited time on Monday. If I didn't speak with you on the phone, I tried calling. I sent out an email just to give you a heads up on this. If each ward member would like to go to the block party in their area, and the mayor and councilmen at large visiting each block party, it gives everybody in the community an opportunity to get out and meet police and other people. Get to know your neighbor, get to know the kids in your area, get to know whoever. We just think it'd be something nice to do. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you gonna put the time so we know when the police are gonna be, like at North Rec at 6:30?
It may be something that we can e-blast
So they
in
know
the future.
specifically.
And also possibly even put on Facebook to let them know what time and what area that will be. We just haven't come up with that plan yet. Our planning stage so far has been making the flyer and ordering everything we need, because we're looking at October 14th, which is next Thursday night. And it's something that we'll be able to pull off.
Any questions to my left? Any to my right? Looks good. Captain Gambino,
Right.
thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So the date of that event, again, as a reminder, is going to be October the 14th from 6 to 8:30. And what day of the week is that?
Thursday.
A Thursday night. So that ought to be a good time for everybody to get out and head to those 4 specific locations and enjoy some hot dogs. Bring the kids and let them see McGruff. It'll be fun. Derek, we expect you at every one of those 4 events. All right. So moving on, Proclamation, October 2021, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and presentation to Jamie Bauer for the Center of Prevention of Domestic Violence. So I'm going to read the proclamation. Would you like to say something before I read the proclamation?
I'll let you read it first.
Oh, okay. Whereas the city of Diamondhead shares a critical concern for victims of domestic violence and desire to support their needs for justice and healing. And whereas domestic violence affects both women and men of every race, religion, culture, and status, people in poverty and those of affluence alike. It affects 1.3 million women per year, with an incident occurring every 18 seconds. As many as 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been physically assaulted by a partner at some point in their lives. And whereas the crime of domestic violence violates the dignity, security, privacy, and safety of members of the community in the form of physical, emotional, sexual, and economic abuse. And whereas initiative partner violence cost us in excess of $5.8 billion national per year, and $4.1 billion of which is from direct medical and mental health services, and as economic impact from lost productivity amounting for $1.8 billion for American businesses. And whereas in 2020, the Gulf Coast Center for Nonviolence provided emergency shelter and support services for 1,384 victims of domestic violence and received 11,700 calls to its crisis hotline, reflecting the severity of this problem within the lower 6 counties of Mississippi. And whereas advocates, professionals, volunteers, and community members concerned with domestic violence will devote the month of October to raising public awareness of the crisis of domestic violence it causes, its effects, interventions, and prevention. And therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the council of the city of Diamondhead, Mississippi, does hereby proclaim the month of October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and affirm our commitment to ending domestic violence within our community.
I I just want to say thank you, Mayor, thank you, council members, thank you, Diamondhead Municipal Court, for allowing me to come in and assist with domestic violence cases. I am part of the Gulf Coast Center for Nonviolence. We have been servicing the lower 6 counties for the last 44 years. So partnerships like this are really important for us to continue to help reach out to our victims on a daily basis. So again, thank you for the acknowledgement. We appreciate that.
Thank you for your hard work and dedication on something that's very well needed. Thank you very much. Would you like to come up and get a picture with us?
Come on around.
Come on up, I'll get out of your way.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Got it.
Proclamation, October 15th, 2021, White Cane Day in the city of Diamondhead, and presented to Mr. Jim Beckham with Diamondhead Lions Club. The city of Diamond, would you like to say something, Mr. Beckham?
Yes, I'm never at loss for words. The Diamondhead Lions Club has been here since 1993. We founded it with 40 members. And I think like all service-type organizations, we're way down. We're down to 18 members now. In fact, one of your councilmen, Ricky Shepard, is one of our members. He didn't make many meetings because he's out of town so much. But, and I'm not sure how familiar y'all are with the Lions Club and what we do, but we help people with sight problems. That's primarily how we started out. We have a place up in Michigan that trains seeing eye dogs for blind people, and we provide eyeglasses for school children and adults who cannot afford to buy them. We have 2 state-of-the-art testing machines where we go around to different places and test eyes. The new machines work best on younger people, but and we help people with eye surgery, and that's part of what White Cane does. White Cane is an organization of Lions Clubs in 3 different southern states, and they take care of things that one individual club cannot fund. We have a number of fundraisers, but the last couple of years, due to the virus, we have had to cancel our 2 major ones, which is the dog show that we have in the spring, and then the 5K walk that we have on the south side in October. And unless things change, we're planning on having them both this coming year. But so we're a lot shorter on money than we normally are because we haven't been able to have those 2 fundraisers, which are our major fundraisers. But we did start having a new one this year, which has worked out real well. We raffled off 2 baskets of cheer. One was a basket of wine and champagne, and the other was a basket of liquor. And we have a member, Bill Lawler, who donated all of the liquor. He quit drinking, so people keep giving him liquor. So, and he told me the other day he's got enough for another basket if we want to have it. And even though we we lost 2 of our dates out at Nico's. We still made over $3,000 on the basket of cheer.
Excellent.
And yes, it is. And we meet the first Thursday of the month at the community center in the card room at 6 o'clock. And we meet the third Friday of the month at the country club at 11:30, and we meet and have lunch. So if any of y'all would like to join us, there are cards on the back table and also brochures and applications for membership.
Thank you, Mr. Beckham. And you all do tremendous work. I know the Walk for Sight, I've participated in that, and that's a very good event. From selling the ads for the book to actually all of us getting out there and walking on the south side. So you all do tremendous work. So the city is ready to proclaim White Cane Safety Day proclamation, whereas the white cane, which every blind citizen of our state has the right to carry, demonstrates and symbolizes the ability to achieve a full and independent life and the capacity to work productively in competitive employment. And whereas the white cane, by allowing every blind person to move freely and safely from place to place, makes it possible for the blind to fully participate in and contribute to our society. And whereas every citizen should be aware that the state law requires that motorists exercise appropriate caution when approaching a blind person carrying a white cane. And whereas the city of Diamondhead also calls upon employers, both public and private, to be aware of and utilize the employment skills of our blind citizens by recognizing their worth as individuals and their productive capacities. And whereas the Diamondheads Lions Club will honor White Cane Day by sponsoring a White Walk for Sight in Diamondhead on October 15, 2021, and whereas the City of Diamondhead, through its public agencies and with the corporate assistance of the Diamondhead Lions Club, can look forward to a continued expansion of employment opportunities for the greater acceptance of blind persons in the competitive labor market. And therefore, we, Mayor Nancy DePrio and the City Council for the City of Diamondhead, do hereby proclaim October 15th, 2021 as White Cane Safety Day. Thank you, Mr. Beckham, to you and to the Lions Club for all your work you do.
You.
And we've got
Nancy, if I could say a little something about Jim Beckham.
Yes.
Jim Beckham is a guy that any organization would treasure to have. He's a hard worker, not along with everybody else in the Lions Club. Our Lions Club at Diamondhead could use some membership. It's aging, but they work hard, and I do respect everything he did. Jim has been a great guy. He's great for our Lions Club, and we would like to keep him in that role for a long time. And he needs some support. So, anything we can do to get more people involved with Lions Club, it would be a huge benefit.
Thank you, Councilman Shepard, and I concur with how hard Mr. Beckham works. I'm in a few groups with him, and the man, he outworks us all.
Thank you, Ricky.
He said, "Thank you, Ricky," and he will. And Ricky said he will start coming to the meetings.
I'll be there Thursday.
He'll be there Thursday.
Oh, okay, good.
All right, Mr. Beckham.
Everybody ready? Let's do it this way. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
There are only 2 of the founding members of the Lions Club that started it back in '93 still in. The rest of them have either moved away or died.
Who are the two?
Myself and Lola Mullen.
I figured Lola. Okay.
We're still around because we're just too stubborn to die.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next on our presentation agenda, we have Trinity Capital Investors presentation and the president, Mr. Jeff Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff. My name is Jeff Wilson. I'm the President and Chief Investment Officer of Trinity Capital Investors. And Trinity is a SEC-registered investment manager. We specialize in handling investments for public entities in Mississippi. We handle both cities, counties, the colleges, and a few other public entities that are not of that nature. I have had meetings with your staff, both with the manager's office and the finance and the clerk and the comptroller over the last year and 18 months. And we've come tonight to make a proposal to you for us to handle your emergency funds, your cash reserves, and now lately, as Trey kind of spoiled some of our thunder, the ARPA funds from COVID. Trinity is an investment firm that has about $500 million in city and county money. We believe that you will be able to benefit from the synergies that we have with those two. I believe you have in front of you somewhere a packet or a copy of the presentation which we've made, and I don't want to bore you by going page by page. You emailed it? Okay, so maybe I will go page by page. We have approximately 50 years, a little over 50 years, I hate to say that because it dates me, doing investment work both for cities and counties and other public entities, and we believe, based on the current interest rate environment, where the banks are no longer interested in working in the public arena, that you can attain a little greater earnings than you've been able to get in the past. Now, I say that because it's been the nature of our business over the last 4 or 5 years to say interest rates are low, you need to be working with an investment manager. Well, likewise, in 4 or 5 years from now, I'm going to say interest rates are high. You need to be working with an investment manager. But we do believe the arithmetic will work so that you'll see that we can attain a greater earnings than if you do it just yourselves. When you get home and work through your proposal, you'll see we've given you an executive summary and then a list of goals and strategies to achieve that. Now, I have listed the goals just as they are all equal, but I want to make sure you understand that the top goal to make sure is that the investment returns you receive on your cash is above what you can get on your own. That means higher than the banks, higher than the indice, which we'll measure ourselves against every quarter, and that will be net of any fee that is accrued to our company. Also, there'll be no risk of any principal loss. We're mandated by statute, Counselor, 2133, 323, and 3119.5, I think is what I've got written out here. But we're mandated, which gives you a very limited window from which you can jump through to invest your money. It's our job to maximize every instrument that we're allowed to use by law to make sure we get that return. Now, it's no different than you would do yourself. She has 5 hours a week to do it. We do it 50 hours a week. We believe we can get a little better return that way. We'll get you your reports by the 5th business day. Now, we do use the interwebs. We'll get it to you that way. But it's to get you the reports, get everything balanced so it makes it an ease of operation for y'all. If the arithmetic doesn't make sense, if it's not any more efficient, it doesn't make sense, we make sure those things happen on the front end. Your funds will be held in your name by a third-party custodian, which is a state-approved custodian, National Bank. As you go through, I'll give you a couple ideas of what we're going to do. The funds are very liquid. We will use what we call, let me make sure I use this, a modified barbell strategy. What we'll do is we'll have some funds that are very short-term in case an emergency arises, be it a storm, a ditch collapse, whatever it may be. There'll always be funds available readily. But we'll also use a little longer-term instruments, again, that are approved by state statute, that'll achieve a little balanced return to make sure we get a better return than you would get on your own. We'll use both treasuries, Ginnie Mae's, taxable municipals in Mississippi are very like, and other instruments that come back. Some of them are very esoteric, and you'll ask me when you see me next time, what does this mean? And we'll go over that case by case. I've given you an idea of some of the strategies we'll use, the securities we'll use. I encourage you to look those over just to get an idea so the next time we see each other, you can have a question that you may have for us. As I move through this, I have given you a list of other cities, and I hope after we talk, Jeannie, that you had a chance to talk to some. Here on the coast, it's Hancock County and Waveland, some in Jackson County. We also do Laurel in Rankin County, Ridgeland and Flowood. A lot of your peers, a lot of Trey's clients are also up there. I see he snuck out the back door. We also do the self-insured funds with which you participate, as well as universities. We make sure I list both Mississippi State and Ole Miss, so we cover all our bases when we go through with that.
I just noticed that.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not a politician, but I work with y'all. And last but not least, I do give you a list of people to call. Feel free to
okay.
reach out. Call Gene McGee, Mayor, if you need to, or Gary Rhodes, or some of those other guys, Mary Ann Hess, as you and I spoke of earlier. I encourage you to do that, so you'll get a level of comfort. We'll be back here if we can work things out. We come back to see you on a regular basis. I'll see Jeannie and Mike quarterly to make sure that if we said that we were going to earn 1% and we make 120, you need to know why. Did we take risks that we didn't think we were going to take? We need to explain that. Likewise, if we say we're going to make 1% and we make 75 basis points, you need to know why. Did the market turn? Did I not hold my mouth right? What happened to make us not meet the goal? And that is the goal we have for the city. Right now, in this environment, we believe we can return about 1% on average to the city over the next 12 months. Now, that's nothing to get too excited about until you hear that the banks are going to offer you 0.00 nothing.
Very true.
And all those funds will be liquid. We can get them back to you within 24 hours. We like to believe the things we do are a benefit to you. The interest you earn is yours to spend in the same fiscal year or the next fiscal year. We can transfer it the same on the September 30th, or we can roll it into the principal. But it's a way to pay an employee, buy more equipment that you didn't plan for in your budget. Mayor, that's it, unless y'all have some questions.
That was excellent. Any questions to the left? Any questions to the right?
I would just comment, we enjoyed an interest rate in a checking account when I first got here in the 2% plus range. Liquid in a checking account. It was the best we can do, beating CDs, everything, when we shopped it. We have watched that market obviously change, and what we used to budget 60, 70,000, 80,000 in interest income, we're now basically a goose egg. So
we saw that this year, yes.
here's a solution to try to bring some of that revenue back into the city that's just cash sitting idle and not working for us. That's not at risk. But we did shop the banks locally, and it was basically 0.00 nothing, because we want to make sure we're getting competitive. So I just want to know we did look at People's, Hancock, the first, to give them an opportunity as well, and it just did not come back.
And the same thing, Mike and Mayor, with your new ARPA funds, have you received those yet? Those funds can also be invested, because you don't have to report back on those till October 25? Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. So you've got 3 or 4 years to figure out exactly what projects you want to fund, and that's even more narrow window dealing with the Treasury than it is dealing with state statutes. But it gives you time to operate. Good night.
He's been up here with us, so we thought we would share him with you.
But it gives you, it buys you some time. Now, that has to be separate and held out in a separate account. But it buys you a year, 18 months, 2 years, so you can plan what projects you want to fund.
So our goal tonight was to have Jeff present to the council, get familiar with what his company does and how they do it. At the next council meeting, possibly put an agreement or an agenda item up in front of y'all to allow us to open accounts. We're sitting here waiting on about $2 million plus from FEMA for Hurricane Zeta money that we had spent. So that's really our emergency fund, and we hope to get it back and deposit it somewhere. So we'd just like to open those accounts. Again, next meeting, we'll talk more about it.
Definitely positive.
Great. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Discussion regarding Capilama Cove HOA donation of streets for right-of-ways. And who do we have here to discuss this?
Trinity. I'm president of the POA of Capilama Cove. And we've been working for a while to do all the requirements that the city needs to take over our streets. We have 4 streets, we have 30 homes, and about 7 vacant lots. And so to that point, we have everyone that owns property in Capilama Cove has signed the petition. We have got the road surveyed. So we're all ready. We've met with the city manager and legal counsel several times, and so we are ready to move forward with this if y'all are.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the legal counsel and the city manager to enlighten us a little more on it. So I know you all have worked with getting all the owners to sign off on, and that was the first step, on giving the roads to the city. So, and then you did a survey. So we're at a point of, what is the right-of-way width? Because I don't even know what the right-of-way width is. And are we accepted in the current condition? And what is the time frame? And you all have discussed all this?
So we were approached about a year and a half ago, maybe. So it's something they've been working on for some time. They met with Derek and myself about transferring streets for Capilama Cove to the city. This was done with High Point when we became a city and became incorporated. They did their own process. So it has happened before. There's communication that other HOAs in the city probably are having the same conversations. So we met and said, hey, this is the things you have to do. We need to know exactly what's being conveyed. So you need to have a survey. So they hired a surveyor to go out there and determine what exactly becomes the right-of-way. So that's complete. There's a check mark there. The other big piece, because some of their owners were not local or in their different spots, and trying to track them down, I think that was the hardest challenge for the residents there, was to get the signature of every property owner to agree on a petition to transfer and give away assets, basically. So the final step would be now is to create a deed of dedication. So they would hire an attorney, create that transfer agreement, just like anybody transferring a lot to the city. You can transfer, Tim, I say it wrong. If the council wants to accept those streets. So that's kind of where we're here tonight, is to say this has been going on to a point. They've done everything they're supposed to do. It's been done before. If the council is so willing to want to accept those streets. The condition of the streets are not ideal. They're worn in some places. Hopefully, I had sent this out to the council. Hopefully, we're able to take a drive. They are concrete streets compared to asphalt streets. There's some differences there. One of the things I tried to communicate was just because the streets would be given immediately, there would not be like, hey, the city's coming to pave your streets tomorrow. They would be allocated and put into our process and our 5-year plan for street paving. I just kind of thought that was an expectation to make sure we were clear on. Again, ultimately the council's decision. You want to comment on any of the legal piece?
No, I mean, that was essentially the process. And what took them some time is in their documents, in their covenants, it requires, if they give away property, that each of the owners consent to that, 100% of them. So that's what took some time. But when in our initial meeting with them, that was kind of my reading of what their covenant said, and I suggested to them, and they did, to consult an attorney to confirm if he or she read it the same way, and they did. So my understanding is they've got the signatures, they've got the survey of exactly what it is. The next step for them would be to prepare a deed of dedication. And then again, as Mike said, the question for the council is, do you choose to accept it or not? And that's a decision for y'all to make. But I just wanted to make sure legally that it was in a position that they got some advice so that they were following their covenant, so that when they did try to give it to us, and if we did decide to accept it, that it was done the proper way.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Sure.
What made your POA decide to turn it over to the city at this time?
Well, we started talking about it about maybe 2.5 years ago. And, of course, we're small, as I said, so to repair our own roads would be very expensive.
Did you get a quote prior to this for repairing of the roads?
We got a quote pretty recently, of just repairing the really bad spots with asphalt. And so we did that.
Did you share that with the city manager and the quote for the repairs?
No.
Are we looking at eventually, if we did take over the roads, paving over the concrete? Concrete's gonna be a lot more expensive, of course. than
I think
paving, for
concrete
sure.
is definitely going to be more expensive than asphalt. How is that done? I'd defer to an engineer to tell me
Yeah,
what to do with that and
Well,
how
I
to
can-
do it. Or-
I can tell you a little bit because of talking to a man to asphalt some of our streets. And what it requires is just putting down a tacky surface, and then they put the asphalt right over the concrete. That's what I was told anyway by the man I was talking to.
Any questions, Mr. Finley? Councilman Finley? Councilman,
No, well, it's like I said, High Point came over immediately when we became a city. Is that correct? So this there's been no other HOA or PO come over since that time.
we did take over the lights at High Point a few years ago. They were under High Point, and the city accepted the lights under the city.
Well, we've talked to Mr. Moran, several of us, and he said he would support us because, everybody has signed, everybody has agreed to this.
And I guess my thoughts on it, so you have 30 property owners in there? 30?
Well, we have 37. We have
37.
Vacant lot.
or 10 lots in there, so.
Mhm.
But-
And you all pay your property taxes, all 37?
Well, the ones that didn't are the ones we had problems finding. But we finally found them, and then what we couldn't find, we bought. So, yeah, we have everybody.
And I guess my point on that is, we are a city. We do want the roads maintained to standards throughout the city. We don't want one part to be totally dilapidated because 37 homeowners can't afford to repair the streets. And that is a big undertaking for an HOA to do it, or a POA. We saw that in the past. So, these are things that we need to consider. You all are tax-paying residents. You aren't getting into our 5-year road improvement. You're not included in it because you have the roads. But you have to understand, too, once you turn them over, those are public roads. So you can no longer say nobody can't drive down those streets because they belong to all of us at that point. They're public, and it's a public right-of-way. I guess my concern is I just would like to see the survey so I could see the right-of-way width so that we know. I've seen the conditions of the street, and that would be, I don't know how 37 homeowners could pay to fix it. And we don't want to see one part of the city being not up to the standards of the rest because it's financially impacted. You're paying your taxes like the rest of us. We're all in the 5-year plan, and we'll have to do what we have to do to make it work if everybody decides to take it over. My concern is the width of the right-of-way. Do we have room for maintenance? Do we need easements? Those are the things I'd like to look at so we can make sure that we get it the first time right on the head.
I can send copies of that.
Okay?
Yeah, you have a copy. Mr. Duke Levy did the survey for us.
Okay. Any other questions?
I would just comment, I have to agree with everything the mayor said. They're tax-paying citizens. I don't think it's realistic for 37 homeowners to try to pave their street. The cost involved is high. And I don't think these residents ought to be treated any different than I do or any of us.
Absolutely.
They deserve a good road just like me.
And I guess that's going to have to go into, it's not in our 2022 budget, and that's, but as far as the paving, that would probably, if it would go into the plan, that would probably be 2 years down the road regardless, correct?
When it comes to paving, and my intention right now is we've budgeted about $500,000 for FY22 paving. What I'd like to see happen is we deploy those funds, hit the streets, get them paved, and then I'll be recommending that we come back and do another assessment, because that will have been 4 years of paving, and that we can kind of get a grade on each street with an engineer putting on a pacer scale, telling us, all right, now these streets are in your worst conditions, and that'll give us a guide for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, because it's
And the
changed
county's looking at that same
tremendously.
process for next FY22.
Yeah, well, it looks like you've done everything that you're supposed to do. I guess now it's up to us to implement somehow a plan.
So what's our next step?
We're going to let the city manager send the survey out, and we'll review it, see where we are, finalize it, and then it'll eventually get on the agenda for acceptance.
Okay.
So keep in contact with those two, and they, especially legal,
So-
so you can keep you going down the right legal route.
What I'd like to do is send the survey that they've submitted to the council. We have a big copy of it in our office. Have y'all come look at it, make sure it meets what y'all were looking for. At that point, be able to give direction for them to engage their attorney to draw up this document. They don't want to go spend money on an attorney and have that expense if it's not something the council is going to entertain. And so that's kind of where our next steps are. If y'all are good with the survey, then we give instruction to say, all right, keep moving, and then we get that deed on the agenda for you to approve.
Okay.
All right. And
Thank you.
we'll look at it a lot quicker than a year and a half. We'll do it in a few weeks. Get back to you. Thank you very much. Next, moving on, it's not on the presentation agenda, but I wanted to give a shout out to our Eagle Scout, Thomas Conkle. He, not only did he build the 12 benches that he has at the dog park, he also worked with the Boy Scout troop, and they built 6 bird houses. It's on the agenda tonight to donate to the city, and they will be placed around the city. And I hate to put Tetra Tech on the spot here, but where are we with debris pickup? Since you're sitting over there, if you don't mind coming up real quick. I mean, Rostan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me, as always. Just to give you an update, we are continuing our pickup. We started with one truck. They brought in a second one. They lost that second truck. They did bring in another one. So there was a couple days, the last, I believe, 2 days, we were only down to one truck, but they are, as of today, back up to 2 trucks. We have hauled, as of last night, we had hauled a total of 73 loads for a total of 3,849 yards. I did get an update just a minute ago. We're 300 and something yards today, so that puts us over 4,000 cubic yards to date as of the completion of today. So we're continuing to push on as much as we can. It's hard to say at this point. The efficiency is getting better, but it is still just a slow-going process. So we still anticipate possibly another 2 weeks or so, 2 to 3 weeks possibly.
Are you done with the organic first sweep? Like, and you're working on the second?
I don't believe we're completely done with the organic yet. I believe we're still working on making that vegetation first pass. Yes, sir. And we are constantly, we're out there, and I've asked my crew in the field to do an updated survey to see exactly where we're at. We have had recently, I noticed the past day or two, Asplin is out there cutting as well. Some vegetation. so some of those areas that we had already cleaned up, like around the loop and some other areas, you'll see some additional material there. That wasn't us, but so we are working on getting our arms around what's there, what's left, so that we can get it picked up as quickly as possible.
Tomorrow with cruising, y'all gonna cut off early or?
I'm gonna leave that up to the city manager. We'll talk about that and discuss that. That's really obviously we don't want to be a hindrance there. So if that's going to cause some issues, then we'll obviously shut down early or figure out some other route if there is an additional route or another way in and out maybe, but we'll definitely coordinate with the city manager on that.
Well, those are beautiful old cars, but some of the brakes don't work that well, so let's get those big trucks out of their way.
You got it. I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, I'll pull all the Tetra Tech's trucks out of we won't be running tomorrow.
Yeah, if you see, the Coast Electric is the one that hires the tree cutting guys, so they should be, like they were out here in front of City Hall in Noma, and they were shredding their materials. They should be coming back to chop all that.
Yeah, and our supervisor.
If they're not, let me know so I can make a call.
Our supervisor made contact with them as well and said they would handle it. She even told them about the cruising on the coast, so they acted like they were going to take care of that this afternoon. So we're still trucking, and we'll get it done as quickly as we can, as fast as we can.
Well, y'all are doing an excellent job, as always.
Thank you.
Moving
Well,
that
we
debris off
always,
the streets.
I hate that we're here, but we always love working here in Diamondhead, so we
We
appreciate
hate
it.
that you're here too, but
Right.
we do
We gotta
appreciate
do
your
what we gotta
hard
do,
work.
so we're here for you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thank you very much. And while we're talking about debris pickup and limbs, Kapapa Way, behind that, I just wanted to mention this to Mike. Can we get with Mississippi Power Company and get that easement cleared? It is grown big. I have tried to send emails with zero success. Thank you. Mississippi Power. Tried Coast Electric, they sent me to Mississippi Power. At this point, any electric company
Yeah,
that will
it's
go
anybody that
cut
can do it.
that easement. City Manager's Report, Mr. Michael Russo.
Just following up on debris removal, just to remind residents, we are planning to make one trip through the whole city, vegetation first, and then other C&D, anything else would be picked up second. If there's a pile that's combined, it'll be on the second pass. So if it's vegetation only, it'll be picked up the first run, and then second, they'll come around with everything else. Again, that's a one pass basically in front of each house. Cruising the Coast, we commented on that. We invite all of our residents and guests to come to City Hall tomorrow, enjoy the band. We've got a couple of food trucks, an ice cream snowball, and loaded tea, I think is what they sell, Funky Monkey. So there's some entertainment and everything else here. So hopefully I'll come out. I know Rouse is going to be there as well with some food. The festival and barbecue competition, it was commented on November 13th. Anybody who's interested in being a sponsor, putting in a team, or putting in a vendor, there's information on our website, or contact me at City Hall. We are doing a sponsored party, which is invitation only, on Friday night. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more sponsorship this year to help keep it a free event. So everybody's invited to that. On the agenda, there's an agreement with Rostan Solution for CRS certification. That is to help us with our flood insurance rates for all residents or property owners. Basically gives you a discount. We started this process a couple of years ago. Rostan approached us and said, hey, this is like a check mark you need to put in if you're submitting hazard mitigation funds. This is one of the questions they ask if you want to elevate that application. So we are asking for authorization to sign that agreement with Rostan and get that certification. Also on the agenda, we're asking for recommendation or recommending to hire Orion Planning and Design to rewrite our zoning code. This was a recommendation that came out of the comprehensive plan. It's going to take about an 8 to 10 month process, and it will allow Envision Diamondhead 2040 to really become a reality in the city. Right now, we basically have a vision that we spent a year making with Envision Diamondhead, but our zoning code doesn't allow that to happen, such as mixed use, things like that. So that's on the agenda. It was commented about the Tidelands grant. The city was awarded $400,000 by the state legislature in the spring. That's the Noma Drive waterfront project. The agenda item tonight is a formal agreement with DMR to accept those funds. There's also an agenda item to accept a $10,000 donation from the Gulf Coast Community Foundation for the construction of a dog park. We are definitely grateful from one of their funds that they have that likes to support dog parks and
Yay.
pets. There's a motion on the agenda to approve the expenditure of funds that we've budgeted as our allocations for FY22. So that list is clearly stated. These are funds that the city sends to organizations that benefit our residents. The administration is recommending to the council that we negotiate with Nicase and Company for the FY21 comprehensive financial audit. Ty has now completed his 3-year agreement with the city. It seems like it just went like that. This will allow him to do 1 more year with the city. And after that, for next year, we would then request or submit a proposal to advertise for proposals from other firms. Hilo Street Drainage Project, there is a motion to accept the recommendation of our engineer to hire the contractor with the low bid. That's the Hilo Street Drainage Project. It was a failed culvert that passes between 2 houses. I think it's a 36-inch culvert and then goes under Hilo. If you've seen it lately, it continues to fail and fall in. So we'd like to get this project started as soon as possible. Hilo Way Drainage Project, Hilo Way, not street. This was a work assignment with Machado Patano to survey and assess the area where we've been experiencing drainage problems in an immediate area that for several years. You can see work that the POA may have done in the last 15, 20 years. And so this is to really come back. One gentleman who's about 85 years old or so gets water in his garage.
He's
92. So it's just some things that we've tried, the POA's tried when they had drainage. So we'd like to put an engineer on it and give us some recommendations. Subbasin A and then Aiki, Kaliki, and Amoka drainage. There is a work assignment with Covington Engineer for the next phase. Ben from Covington was here at the last meeting, talked about this. We're putting that next assignment as talked about on that, as well as one for Turnberry. I know Ben is here, and Andrew. If y'all have any comments or questions, they can speak more. What's that next step look like in that project? I bet. So the Subbasin A represents, I think, 450 acres. It basically all flows out of Montjoy Creek. Aiki, Kaliki, in that area. Nancy probably represents another easy 20 plus, 30 acres. Got to be a decent size. So it's not a cheap project. We knew that going in. And the same thing for Turnberry. I mean, I had a meeting on that this morning with some residents. You know, the project is probably looking at about $1 million, $250 on mitigation of wetlands. And again, Ben can speak to that much better than I can. So I have them. If y'all like to chat with them, that would be fine. Do you want me to bring them up?
Well, wait till you're finished.
Okay. Also on the agenda is Colo Court Drainage Project. There is a new work assignment on the agenda with Pickering Engineering for the design phase of Colo Court Drainage. The engineering firm did submit their report with several options and a recommendation. I think we moved that to an action item, so I'll kind of let that keep moving. Just an update on our engineering RFQ. I'm hoping to have that recommendation to the council at our next council meeting. I would just like to say we received several applications from many qualified firms, so I'm happy to report we've got a good selection to choose from. And if Covington, you want to make any comments? You don't want them to comment at all?
Yeah, we can. We actually have Pickering here and we have Covington here, so we're going to let both of those before we move on to the public comments. Do we have public comments?
We have a non-agenda item.
A non-agenda, so that's at the end. Okay, so let's start with Covington, and we're going to discuss. There's 2 work assignments on the agenda, and those 2, which we should have pulled those off, I guess, because they are consent agenda. We should have pulled them off with Pickering, but that's okay. Work assignment 12 and work assignment 13. Work assignment 12 is the Stormwater Master Plan for Watershed Area A, and then work assignment 13, Turnberry Detention Pond. So you want to start with A?
Sure. Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Could you excuse me, Penny? Did you want to speak before you left? Okay. Do you want to come up now? Okay. We love you, Penny. Oh, you didn't? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. It's you. Okay. We're hurrying. I know it's been a long meeting. Oh, okay. Well, then you're about to learn a lot right here on what we're working on. What area which street do you live on?
Lala Place, 9536 Lala Place. I spoke to
agenda item.
I spoke to Alan. Spoke to by phone Mr. Resso. Spoke to the city Public Works, and
Okay, well, Lala Place, you'll be happy to find out, is in Drainage Area A. So it's part of what he's working on right here. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us. As discussed at last meeting, we have completed the field work on, or are completing the field work on identifying surveys of cross-sections of channels, finished floor elevations, and then your drainage structures. So the next step for Watershed A, and that's the 435 acres in Watershed A, and then drainage areas 55 and 56, which is Aiki, Kaliki, and Amoka. Those areas we're proposing to study further. And so what we're going to do, and what you'll see in this proposal here, is we're going to take and extend our Turnberry model to the south, because the Turnberry model is in the north end of Watershed A, extend that all the way to Montjoy Creek, and then we're going to tie in the other major drainage channels within Watershed A that tie into Montjoy Creek along that Turnberry stretch. And then we're going to run quite a few iterations of different tailwater elevations, which is again your storm surge elevations tied to different rainfall intensity events, your 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm events. And so at the end of this, you'll have the deliverable for the council is going to be a map identifying flooding areas on your different rainfall events, and then a list of prioritized projects that can be implemented either using public works staff or using outside contractors, but a list of projects prioritized based on benefit to alleviate flooding, also cost and environmental restrictions. You know, do we have wetland issues or other regulatory issues that may impact that project from getting done? So at the end of this project, you'll have a list that you can then take and apply for funding, or if you already have funding, go ahead and start funding some of these projects to alleviate the drainage.
So when you run the models and you have the list, we're going to look, and the drainage basin A is very large. And then 55 and 56 starts at Diamondhead Drive North where it loops out. 55 starts there, and 56 continues, and I think it goes all the way to Lola Drive, all the way out to the edge of the city limits. So those two areas are big to be included with Area A, but that's where all the outfall's going. Kaliki, Aiki, Comey, Amoka, these are the areas we keep seeing over and over with the draining issues and having flooding, and it's all new because this hadn't happened for years. I mean, this is the past 2 years, things have changed dynamically. So you're going to have a list of, okay, this is the areas that we know that are flooding, and then you're going to have a list of areas that Public Works possibly could do work, maybe changing out one.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a culvert that needs to be upsized and we're not going to push that water and raise the water surface elevation downstream, if we can convey that water quicker with the work we're doing at Turnberry and removing water out of the system, and then maybe we can do some easy conveyance projects. But again, we won't know that until we run the model.
That's going to take a lot of work running these models.
It's going to be a lot of iterations, and we're going to work closely with the city. One thing we talked about is prioritizing, because Watershed A is very big. And so prioritizing a few different areas that have the most flooding impacts now, running those models there and trying to get early identification on some barriers, for lack of a better term. So that way, as next year and, as we enter early next year, the legislature's going into session. There's opportunities for grant requests, both in January through that legislative process. Our goal is to identify these projects, and that way we can start searching for funding, or with the city to start funding these projects, because it's not going to be an easy fix and it's not going to be a quick fix, but it can be addressed.
Can I ask, why are you doing so many models of different year events, when it seems to me if you're doing a 25, 50, and 100, that would cover most of what we'd need? Why the 1 year, 5 year like events?
Well, because 2 year events have higher peaking factors for impervious areas. So when you have large tracts of impervious areas, your 2 year may be flooding out different homes. So in our mind, right now thinking a 2 year is not a big event, but if it's coupled with a large impervious area or conveyance systems that are undersized, a 2 year event can flood somebody.
That a 25 wouldn't?
No, that a 25 would, but looking at a 25, we may not be able to solve your problem with a 100-year flood event. We may not be able to solve it for a 50 or 25-year event. There may be some areas that a 25 can't be solved, but if we upgrade a pipe or upgrade conveyance, or if we can add storage, we're going to reduce yard flooding or reduce house flooding through a 2, 5, 10-year event.
Those are very important ones.
Those are the ones you have more often.
So what are the areas that you're working on first that we can try to get funding for?
That's up to you and the city manager as to where we were initially, in my mind, it would be looking at Appalachama and Comey Drive, because those tie directly into Turnberry, and our next work assignment we're talking about is the pond at Turnberry. So we're reducing the flow through that system. We can look at conveyance options on Appalachama and Comey, because there's not a lot of storage. Just doing a quick aerial view, there's not a lot of storage capacity or vacant land that you could apply storage capacity to. So that's more than likely going to be conveyance projects.
And then the second behind that would be Diamondhead Drive North, Aiki, Kaliki, and Amoka, that area, because it is floods like, it's going to flood the homes. I mean, we've been working on this area for 4 years, and I've sat up here for 4 years asking for help with it, and it's to a point now where new homes have been built, the dynamics have changed, and it needs to be addressed. And you already picked up, and the work assignment that you had prior to this, you already picked up the field data for those areas, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you have the field data for those 2 projects we just mentioned.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's
and
a big start.
As we get into it, there may be things that we pick up, or we're going to walk. We're going to walk these drainage ditches. We're going to walk these drainage areas, and if there's stuff we pick up, we may have to go back out and get it, but that'll be covered.
That'll work.
I will tell you, I mean, my approach with our engineers has been, we need to address homes that are flooding. So Comey, Appalachia, I mean, we had 30-plus homes take water this summer in a 100-year rain event. At the same time, Rotten Bayou was elevated because the water could not get out. So anywhere we have, people are ripping out their kitchen floor, that is our highest priority. That Comey area, as well as, I believe, and I'm going to support our mayor on it, Aiki and Kaliki, especially Kaliki, they've got some low areas, and it's been low, but it's getting dangerously close to houses.
It's up to their doorsteps. It is at their front door now. Well, it is in some homes on Amoka.
So street flooding, yard flooding, ditch flooding is secondary to a house flooding. Has been my approach and direction. And I hope that's consistent with what y'all want. And if not, please let me know.
House flooding first. I mean, these areas that we know that are flooding, we need to hit first with everything we have.
Right.
I'll also comment, and I know when Pickering gets here, as of Sunday, we were at 109 inches of rain. And someone today told me we're at 120. So the amount of rainfall we've received thus far this year, and we're not done, is extreme. Compared to we normally get 60 inches in a year.
Any more questions? Those days might be behind us, though. The 60-inch years, I think, might be behind us.
Any more questions on work assignment number 13, Drainage Basin A? And that also includes La Place, La Way, Drainage Basin A. So when you're running your models, we'll know the areas that are flooding. Because that's in Drainage Basin A. Turnberry Detention Pond, work assignment 13.
Yes, ma'am. So work assignment 13 is the next step from Turnberry Drainage Phase 2. This is looking at the 12-acre pond, option 3, alternate 3. As Mr. Riso mentioned, we have met with the property owner. We're working through, what restrictions are that they want to place on that property. So this would take it to final design, and this would get you bidding, having a contractor ready to start. That includes LiDAR survey, so we're going to fly it. You know, we've been using LiDAR data, but LiDAR data I think right now is 2018, 2015. So we're going to refly it with a LiDAR drone. We're also going to go out and take geotechnical borings and analyze those for stability on the berm and settlement on the berm. And ultimately, we're going to design that berm to withhold, you know, as much water as we can. And right now, alternate 3 has it at about 31 to 32 feet elevation. Now, your ground elevation at the lowest point is 25 feet. So, you know, you could have 7 feet of water in that pond. And the benefit to number 13, Turnberry, is the removal of water in the system. Because every bit of water that hits, that goes to Turnberry Drainage Pond, ultimately ends up into Montroy Creek. And it's met with that drainage canal from Comey and the drainage canal from Oklahoma. And so both of those have very little storage. So the benefit of applying storage upstream will have downstream benefits to allow us, hopefully, to convey more water and lower that water surface elevation. So while this directly affects flooding at Turnberry Way, it indirectly will affect Turnberry or flooding down at Comey, Oklahoma, where we had house flooding.
I'm excited about this one because we've needed this as well. And I know both of these assignments are very costly, but I assume they would. When I talked to Mike the first time, I said, let me tell you where they're going to be with this. So you were right where we thought you were going to be. So, I mean, that's what it is to get this work done. It's a lot of work.
And a lot of homes depend on it, and a lot of
lot of residents are dependent
Absolutely.
on this outcome. And this is going to relieve a lot of folks downstream, and that's what we need. We need this pond. Any questions to the left? Right?
Thank you for everything.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Get
Thank
busy.
you, Council.
We're excited.
Will do.
Thank you. Next, we have Pickering Engineering, and this is going to be to discuss the project that we have on Bayou Drive to replace the culvert.
Okay, on Bayou Drive, that's the Colo Court drainage. And
Right, Colo Court.
so that goes from Lono Place culvert to Bayou Drive, and there's a lot of washout in that drainage servitude between those two culverts. There's a 36-inch diameter culvert at Lono and at Bayou Drive. So when it gets out of Lono, it picks up a lot of water drainage before it gets to Bayou Drive. So that definitely needs to be replaced with a larger size culvert, which is what we did. So that's to remove the 36-inch reinforced concrete pipe and replace it with the 36 by 59 reinforced concrete arch pipe. So, and then the recommendations were also to use riprap to stabilize that ditch running from Lono to Bayou. And right now, y'all saw the pictures, it's really just a washed out canal, and it's starting to erode some of the sewer mains and water mains in that area. So to widen the channel to make it capable of handling the storm and stabilizing the banks is really what our recommendations, that's where it came from, to handle the flow of the 25, 50, and 100-year storms.
And the estimated cost on and this is an erosion project, so this isn't a flooding. It was about 500,000, 513,
Yes.
512? 512 and some change to stabilize the bank. So we know that we're working on Elkie Way, and we did get NRCS funding, and we know it takes a while to get that, but bank stabilization due to erosion, and a lot of it is caused by storms. We've had our share this year and the past. Could NRCS funding be a source that we could do to help with this project?
I think that would be a timely, it would take a lot more time than we possibly have on this project. We did look at reducing the riprap on the ditches and just grassing them, which would be a temporary solution, but at the same time, it would get everything to where it works today. And I mean, if we grass it correctly, it could last, 5 to 10 years if it's done right. So we looked at options, and I don't have the exact numbers, but it was anywhere between $100,000 to $200,000 in savings if we didn't riprap line the entire channel. It's about 1,500 linear feet.
Could
between
we,
those 2 points.
could we look at that, doing riprap at the beginning of it, changing the culvert out, putting grass, and then seeking NRCS, or is there any other funding we could seek? We need some help with this. And I guess, while we want to look for funding, some source of it is we've got a lot of flooding issues now and a lot of homes being flooded, and that's our priority in our budget that we have. And you all are helping us with a lot of projects, so thank you. Y'all are helping us with a lot of drainage projects, and you do very good work. But we want to focus on, and this one's mainly erosion and protecting the water sewer. So we want to look at the NRCS. This is a great project for that. It's a great source of funding. Right.
A lot of that money can be directed to infrastructure, specifically when it had to do with sewage. A portion of that money was to be directed towards removing septic systems and put them on public sewer. So if there's a potential hazard with the sewer department, it may be that it qualifies for that. But it's something I'll have to check.
Can I ask you, with the increase of the culvert size going under, will that do anything to slow the erosion that's happening now, just the culvert itself being larger?
I mean, basically, it backs up when it gets to that culvert, and then it starts to subside. So it would just keep everything more consistent to where it doesn't have the, build up and then increase and decrease of the velocity.
What I was thinking in a heavy rainfall, that maybe because that culvert's slowing down everything, it allows more like whirlpools to form as the water's coming in, because it can't be moving out, as quick.
Yeah, and it really floods that area a lot more, and then when it goes, So depending on what portion of the phase of the storm, how it's peaking and then receding,
A lot of the
It just
erosion
depends
is
on when
back
it's happening,
upstream anyway. I mean,
I-
your major, where your most exposure that I saw is upstream from the culvert anyway.
Yeah,
We definitely need to make sure there's riprap in as soon as possible.
If the
And then at the end, before it goes through the culvert, just to keep it moving at a consistent speed.
And they have
You
done
want the water to move fast. You don't want it to stay.
we went out there, a week ago, and the sewer department did do some work where they stabilized the banks on one side. I mean, and it wasn't a permanent fix, but at the same time, they came and they filled it up. And
We
Yeah.
paid for that 50% of that. It was 32,000. So see, we've already invested. So we don't want to keep investing. We want to invest and get it where it. And we didn't get an engineer on it. It was just a contractor that did an emergency proposal. We paid half, And that was the work that was done, and it has not held up. So we need an engineer on it. We need it to be designed right. We need to try to find grant funding so that we can do bank stabilization the entire way, you know, and not tie up the funds for people that are flooding, because this is erosion, not flooding. But we do need to move on it. I mean, we need to move, but we need to, and y'all are good with grants. We need to find some grant money. Did you want to say?
Yeah, what I would like to just comment on a couple of things. Number one, in the short term, you know, our Public Works and the Water Sewage got together. We brought in some dirt, gave them a culvert that we had in the back to catch the water coming off of Colo so that it wouldn't just continue to erode and hit the sand. So we were able to cover that pipe that was exposed. This is a temporary fix, and literally buried it, put a culvert in, and shot it up over so it's falling past the pipe. And that was just done with in-house stuff between them and us. Prior to bringing on Pickering, or it might have been during when Pickering was here, we did get a proposal from DNA as an emergency plan or emergency work to go in and go from the top of the stream where their culvert manhole is to where the secondary manhole is, rip-wrap it. It was in exact form or recommendation as the engineers put together. It was about $82,000 for that one section, as well as catching the water that would come off of Colo, headed down to the pipe. But that was a small section. Kind of what you're describing tonight of, you know, could I think it was about $25,000 to replace the culvert under Turnberry to upsize that to help get a little bit more water out to the outfall faster so it doesn't back up. So that may be something the council wants to consider in the short term, and then look for grant money to really do the long stretch that makes this a $500,000 project. When we're looking at $2 million to spend in a year, because we've got about $4 million, $2 million each year, this would represent 1/4 of it for erosion.
For erosion. It's very difficult
And that's hard
to handle.
to recommend to y'all, but I do think we've got some critical infrastructure with water sewage that maybe $100,000, $88,000 to get that protected, and then look for the grant money globally, because we got erosion in ditches throughout this entire city. So this is, you know, that's, as a bigger picture, we may want to look globally for this ditch erosion.
And the sewer line follows that servitude pretty much all the way down. So it's not just in that area. It is right now, but it's only going to get worse and undermine more, more sewer lines as it continues.
Whatever work we do out there from now on, I know anything we try with, but you know, the size of the riprap that they have, it has to be much larger than we've tried, because anything less than, I would say, 400 or 500 pounds is going to be just washed downstream, and that's pretty heavy current through there.
Well, the ditch, I mean, if you go out there, it's.
I'm trying to just stabilize the sewer pipe to keep that from collapsing.
Right. But downstream from there, I mean, you see how the ditch is just a straight rectangle where it's washed out. So when the water's washing over that ledge, that's when it starts to undermine the soil, and it just washes that portion out. So whenever we slope the banks correctly and stabilize that, it's going to come in, and it'll be just more smooth of an operation from when the water gets in to when it gets out. And that's what our focus was on, to shape it correctly and then stabilize it, which is where the riprap line comes from.
We just need y'all to help find some grant funding and to change the scope of work that you have on the work assignment, to do what we need to do to stabilize it at this point until we can keep working on it, to find the grant funding to get it where it's first class.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
No, I agree, because $250,000 here, $250,000 there, we're using up money, and we have houses that are flooding to take care of. I mean, I don't like doing Band-Aid stuff, but at the same time, you gotta prioritize.
We do.
The flood is more important of people's houses than erosion, even though it's a health factor risk too, and so we gotta take some banded, things, but I don't think the complete job until we do get funding would be wise. But $2 million, I'm thinking of that retention ponds, $500,000. We're looking at spending money, and we're only getting a dent in the flooding. What is the estimate? Something like $20 million to take care of every project we would need to.
Every city on the coast wants that.
Yeah, But I'm just saying, I think people don't realize that we either inherited or the way the whole thing is turning and with age and all like that, is we have so much drainage issues throughout the city that I don't think you can go more than, 1,000 feet without hitting another drainage problem that probably needs to be corrected. And that's why we do want to take a look, not just at the Band-Aid effect, but we want to take a look at what's going to work for the long term. But then we have so much money and we got pressing needs to like make sure the sewer don't break, but at the
And
same
that's not
time,
our-
make sure that the people's homes don't flood.
That's not our, because the water sewer is separate from the city, that's not our responsibility to make sure the water sewer doesn't break. But it is our responsibility to make sure that we don't have whirlpooling because the downsized culvert isn't big enough. That is our responsibility.
So, as a second option, and we were writing up the review today, I talked to Kara about it, and if we did the full clean out, shaped everything, replaced the culvert at the end of it, so it's sized properly, put riprap at the beginning and at the end, it's gonna save you approximately $200,000. That's a very rough number, nobody put a calculator on it, that was just a best guess. If Mike gives us a budget, what he wants to spend on that project reasonably, then we can tell him how many feet of riprap each end would be put, because riprap is really the biggest cost of the project. And they're talking about riprap with, the caulking layer, so that
It's grouted, riprap, so it will, that's okay. Grouted, caulking, it's all good. We
And
get it.
That's only in the
So-
problem areas.
Right, and the grouted will have it where it won't shift or move. It's in place, it's sealed where it is. And we need you to tell us where that needs to be. Y'all are the engineers and know where it needs to be, and then look for grant funding and we'll move forward. I think we're all in agreement on that.
And we talked about it the other day, like, anything I can help y'all do that y'all can do in-house. I mean, I'm more than
That's
happy to
another
come out here
option.
and
Thank you, yes.
so.
We can get out there and
Point in-
do some
point you in the right
work.
direction, so.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and I'll have an update on Makiki, that drainage issue.
How are we on
the next
McKeekee
meeting.
since you're standing there? Are we about ready with construction
I've
plans?
already done the analysis and everything.
Okay.
And, I'll have the recommendations at the next meeting. for
Excellent,
the-
because that's one where we have had homes flood.
And
It's a very, very serious area.
That's a similar thing where we're just gonna have to upsize the pipe and clean the ditch coming in off of that drainage servitude into the pipe.
And you've got the outfall ditch all cleaned and realigned because it goes every which way but straight. Have you looked at that?
We're gonna, I don't know if that's past our project limits, but
If it is,
take
we
a
need
look
to
at that. I
talk
don't
to
think
the
it was
city
backing up
manager
to
because
that
that needs
because-
to be priority. The outfall, if we don't have it going out, then it's pointless to do it ahead. So we need to get the outfall ditch. It's every which way.
yeah, I think it's right on the side of that house and it's
It
starting
is.
to wash away his base.
It
So
is.
we're gonna
It's right on
stabilize
side of
that.
the house.
But it is larger. What's coming in is what's
gonna, like-
leaving across the roadway, like the ditch that's going underneath the roadway is a lot smaller than the ditch beyond Makiki. So it shouldn't have any issues draining that volume out. And there is a little more coming in from both sides. But
We'll be happy to see that inlet go away.
okay.
It just loves to collect leaves and straw.
Yeah, the box that's
But
it's
the
almost
side
like a
inlets,
retaining wall, so it doesn't start draining until it hits, 11.5 to 12 feet. So it's backing up, and you've already missed what you should have been getting out there when the storm is peaking.
you're
And so
exactly
it's not a
right.
good-
Then you gotta
good
remember to
thing,
go
so.
clean it before it rains or else it doesn't even get any water in it.
So if we can get that water out while the storm is going on and building up, and it's flowing constantly, there shouldn't be an issue. So we just have to upsize it and make sure that everything's, it's all flowing together, what's coming in and going out, basically. So, but I'm just throwing on the report.
So, Mike, we did have the outfall ditch on this one? Yeah, we have to, because that's a big part. We got a lot of erosion there. It's getting trapped, it's not getting out, so we need
That
to.
was that house with the driveway coming in on the,
Back off the property line, head back towards the driveway. Can't remember the guy's
It's the Robinsons. It's Lee and Angie Robinson's home. And we've got 2 lots behind that before it hits the bayou.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
and I
Yeah,
have,
because we need the ditch in it, the outfall ditch.
I have the model built, so maybe I just went back first, and so that's where I'm at right now. But
Well,
we're
excellent.
working
Thank
on
you
it.
for
We'll have your
working on that.
recommendations in the
Okay.
next meeting.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Any
Thank
other
you.
question? All right. Public comments on an agenda item? On a non-agenda? Well, it could be, come on up here. We've been talking about drainage all night, so I'm assuming
Yeah, keep it up.
it's an agenda item.
Give my crude drawing here, my crude drawing here.
Thank you.
That's my son.
My name is Dennis Brown. Thank you for listening to us. I'm speaking on behalf of my mom at 9536 Lala Place. Last July, she agreed to purchase the property, 9536 Lala Place. But the progress of the home was postponed because after going out there and they were getting ready to do their digging for plumbing, I noticed that there was a drainage issue. And so I brought it up to Elliott Homes and I expressed to them about that. And then they brought it to y'all because they had to get a new permit for a chain wall for this property. Apparently, I found out that after everything was said and done, that this is a property that was looked at being purchased by the city of Diamondhead for a green space or a drainage catch basin. But regardless, y'all weren't able to purchase it for whatever reason. She moved in February 26th and discovered excessive flooding in the yard to a point of having rapids, whitewater rapids, running down her property line into a newly engineered or constructed catch basin, which I was made aware of that the city of Diamond had put in. So with the diagram that I have for you here, I've highlighted the locations of where drain pipes are in the little green pen for culverts from underneath people's driveways that aren't working to accommodate the excessive water. Basically, what we're asking is to dig out the culverts or the right-of-ways, I don't know if the right terminology for them, in the highlighted areas to those drainage pipes. Like I said, I sat out there many a nights, or not nights, but days, when rainstorms were coming I'm not an engineer, but I do know a little bit about water, and it goes the path of least resistance. And I think having these right-of-ways dug out to go into those catch basins because the water is being forced onto the road and pooling at the Y of the basing there. But I mean, the only other thing is that she can't build a fence because the fence companies won't touch it because of the drainage that's there. They can't warranty the property.
And I know this lot very, very well. I mean, we worked on, I want to say many years I worked on this, and we did do a drainage project. We had digital engineering that went in and did a drainage project, and actually the problems we were having with was on Diamondhead Drive West at 955, I can't read the number, 06, I believe. So that's where we were having the specific drainage issues, which was coming between these two lots, which is the one you just bought and your neighbors. That was coming down, then going down your back fence and out.
Right.
We did put in subsurface drainage, connected it to the box, and it runs out.
Well,
Diamondhead Drive North, I had some people, the city council, myself, we do not issue the permits. We do not say they get a retaining wall. So we have to be clear. We don't know when you come here and say we don't issue those. We have a building department that's very good. They go through, they know, what the drainage is. They issue the building permits. It's not, none of us here have that authority to do that. So we don't do that. Yes, ma'am, the building department. But looking at this, I'm gonna ask my city manager. Have you gone out and looked at this?
I know that. I mean, I'm very aware of the property because we hired digital engineer. We
Oh,
spent
yes, we did.
$50,000+ prior to the house being constructed. It was a vacant lot. At one point, the state owned it. There was some discussion about us trying to acquire it. By the time we looked at it, it was purchased, sold, and moved on to the market place. If you look at the streets that are highlighted, La Place, La Court, basically everything's flowing down La Court, comes down, hits La Place, and gets in a gully, goes kind of down between 34 and 36.
It actually comes
And-
down the neighbor's driveway and then into
Your back property
into her
line, 'cause I've videotaped
onto the
that.
property line,
Mhm.
onto the
So-
property line, into the drainage basin.
And then we went subsurface with everything because the amount of the flow of water that was going through here was enormous. I think it carried a trampoline, ripped down fences, and,
I
and everything
videotaped
else.
those
If you
from an
remember those
upstairs
videotapes on the house on Diamondhead Drive West in
Right.
particular. So very familiar with it. And then again, I probably through the building department, because of the way that the lot does like this, said you need to put a chain wall. You got to build that thing up.
Which they did.
And there is a large catch basin that was installed by us prior to construction of
Right.
this new
I mean,
home.
there's two drains, so you're correct. I mean, there was two drains in her yard, in the back basin, and on the front, there's one to the 9534 in their property, and then one between 9534 and 9536. But those properties, or those catch basins aren't utilized because of the water that's coming down Lala Court, and there's where it's highlighted, it's not dug in. I mean, there's maybe this much between the street and the right of way or the
So you're basically
ditch.
saying we should dig those ditches?
Yes, sir. I mean,
Oh, that's easy.
Well, I mean, I'm not an engineer, but I'm
Me
just saying
either.
if y'all could go down there and, I mean, that would probably mitigate a lot of the flooding
Okay.
issue. You know, like I said,
We'll
I talked
definitely look at that.
I talked to Public Works, I talked to the city planner, yourself, the alderman, and they said to come, the next step is to come here, so. Here we are.
We can easily look at digging ditches. I mean, that, we don't
I
need any
mean,
permission.
I think that would be the
We
cheapest.
gotta
I mean,
dial
I understand there's a
811.
lot of other issues going on with other people's property, but, I mean, for this, I think this would probably be the cheapest way of doing it.
And that's a good start. We can dig the ditches, clean them out, make sure those culverts are cleaned out, and see
And I
if it
believe the
resolves
culverts are
the
like
issue.
12-inch culverts, but there's only like 6 inches showing.
All the rest is covered up.
Yes.
I've been there since the end of February, and the one in front of under my driveway is slowly filling in. And that's just since February.
You can actually fill out paperwork online and have that done as often as you request the city.
Where would we look to do that?
I think they know now. The city manager knows, so we'll
Okay.
be anticipating work
Okay.
to be done on that. And if that doesn't resolve it, I think you have the support of the council. We have a lot of survey work already completed in here, a lot of design work, a project done. We'll hand it off to a different engineering firm, one that hadn't seen it, get new eyes on it, and see if we need to do something else
Well,
if the
my-
ditch cleaning doesn't work.
My dad's always told me that the squeaky wheels gets the grease, and I've been kind of quiet for a little bit, trying to give y'all time to get all this together, but, you know, time's of the essence, because she needs her backyard, and her dogs need a place to go, and
She needs to be able to put a fence up that
Yes,
won't be
ma'am.
knocked down with water. We totally understand. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate
We
it.
needed to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, moving on to the minutes. Motion to approve the September 21st, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting
Move.
minutes. Motion made by Councilman Finley. Second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. City Clerk?
Finley?
Yes.
Moran is absent. Shepherd?
Ricky, wake up.
Ricky gone, he better die.
Okay.
Ricky?
We don't know when he left, huh? All right, Clark?
Yes.
Marr?
Yes.
DePrio?
Yes.
All right. So, ooh, I hope that wasn't him calling me.
He's at a concert.
You probably get, yeah.
60,000 of his fans.
Yeah. It's like, the meeting went
Well,
on
we
too
can
long.
say Councilman Shepherd left the meeting at 7:55. Councilman Shepherd.
Hello?
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes,
Do you approve the minutes?
yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Shepherd. Resolution 2021-330. Motion to adopt Resolution 2021-070 regarding temporary mobile restroom concessions, cargo, storage trailers, and marina office that are on wheels in the regulatory floodplain. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Marr. Any discussion? To my left? Any discussion to my right? Councilman Shepherd, any discussion?
No.
City Clerk?
Dennis, Finley,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Consent agenda, items 3,
Nope.
items 4 through 21. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilman Clark. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. City Clerk?
Oh goodness, Finley,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Action agenda item number 1. Motion to authorize master service work assignment agreement with Pickering Firm in the amount not to exceed $48,100 for the Cola Court ditch improvements and culvert replacement. And
Ma'am,
I'm going to
Madam,
add, and to help us seek grant funding. Could I get a motion?
Do we think we should table that until it's revised, compared to having
Yeah, 'cause we have to.
the scope of work that's defined right now as the entire project of 512?
Yeah, we're gonna-
Should we go ahead and revise that scope, let us get together,
Yes,
and
we
bring
can.
it back to you?
Definitely.
Let's table it.
And add on there to
Just
help
table
us
it.
with grant funding as well, because I know that does take time and money. It does. Okay, motion to table.
Second. And I'll move it.
Okay, we got Councilman Clark moved it.
I thought she was
And we got a
making a motion
second
to
by
table.
Councilman Marr. Sorry, Councilman Shepherd, they're over double teaming over. I think they need to get home or something.
That's all right.
All right. City Clerk, Ms. Jeannie Klein.
Finley,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Motion to approve docket of claims, claims DKT 158858, DKT 15900, in the amount of $300,674.22.
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second.
Second.
Second made by Councilman Shepherd.
I got in.
Yay.
I waited on you.
Finley,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
There are no department reports, I'm sorry. And
Council, Mr. Derek Cusick.
Nothing.
Wow, we're being good.
We're doing well. I will be updating you all on one potential matter, but I'll do that by email. So, nothing big right now.
Thank you. Is there any other business that needs to be brought before the council tonight? Could I get a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second by Councilman Clark. Jeannie Klein?
Finley,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Mr. Shepherd,
adjourn.
Ma'am.
Clark,
do you want to adjourn?
Yes.
Marr,
Yes.